Would you come with an open heart and listen to my love? Would you come with an open heart and listen to my love?
Hello, my name is Darold Gholston, and I'd like to welcome you to Listen to Love, segment number 8, where we discuss intimate topics and explore creative ways to celebrate love. Thank you for tuning in to Listen to Love on the Art of Romance channel. Today in the studio we have Dakei Harvey, extraordinaire, visual artist, writer, performer, athlete. This young man does it all, and we have him in the studio today. So sit back and relax while you hear from Dakei Harvey on the Listen to Love show. But before that, we're going to hear the dynamic, powerful, sultry sounds from Detroit's own Dave McMurray. The title of the smash hit is Places to Touch. welcome to Listen to Love. And today's guest is Dakei Harvey.
What's going on, people?
Dakei is going to talk a little bit about the millennium relationships. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about Dakei. Dakei appeared on the Detroit show called 187. He also is an author. He is a songwriter. He is a all-state athlete.
Oh, man.
And Dakei is one of these young men who tries to do everything, and he does it well. Dakei, welcome to Listen to Love.
I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here, Coach. I appreciate you.
Well, one of the things that we're going to talk about is the difference in relationships with the young people under 30 years old. Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference that I see. Dakei, can you please expand on some of the things about relationships now that's different from the relationships from the baby boomers?
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate that introduction. That is touching. Sometimes you forget a lot of the things that you do because you're so focused on moving forward to the next project. So again, I appreciate that. But to answer your question, I think the difference is my generation have, they've gotten away from the 80s and the 90s type of love, the grandparents type of love, because now our grandparents are, that generation before us is fading. There a lot of, I just lost my grandmother, so that generation is fading away. The generation of the long lasting marriages and relationships are fading away, and we have these millennials that are just being born, and right now they don't necessarily have that example to pretty much guide them. So what they do is they learn how to love and what they think love is. And first off, I think they're just infatuated with the idea of love and not necessarily being in love, because with love comes a lot of work, and that's what they're not prepared for. But like I said previously, they don't necessarily know how to love. You know what I mean? So they're finding out how to love by television, music, and what music is telling them is to, put money before women, put your homeboys before women, and that's a lot of, what's going on, and a lot of women look at it the same way. Put your homegirls before men, and put your money before men. And yeah, I understand that you have to make sure that you are established in life. You have to make sure that you are independent enough to, and you got yourself together and love yourself enough to be able to love someone else. And if they don't give you the type of love that you feel you need, you don't go looking for that love in all the wrong places, because you love yourself enough for both of you. You know what I mean? And I just think that a lot of people have gotten away from it in my generation. There's so much I could talk about that, but I know we don't have that much time. But I just think the root cause is we don't have the example. And I don't like to blame music and television, but I believe that's one of the big reasons as to why this generation love the way they do.
When you mentioned about music, when we listen to some of the songs that's out now, and some of the songs that have been a big influence on young people, mm-hmm. How can music really influence a young person to think that for some young ladies being called derogatory names is to be accepted?
Well, with anything, it's like I don't like to look at humans as puppies, but with like when you have a puppy, I have a puppy right now. And consistency at this age, they're young, and consistency is key. So if you continue to drill in their head that they're not supposed to use the restroom in the house, or they're not supposed to, bite on the furniture or your shoes or things of that nature, eventually they're going to be programmed to say, you know what, if I bite this, I'm going to get in trouble. If I, use the restroom in the house, I'm going to get in trouble, or whatever the case may be. That just proves that consistency is key. And I think in this generation, when it comes to music, if they have enough people, excuse my language, if they have enough rappers and calling women, bitches and hoes and things of that nature, eventually they're going to become normalized, and it's just going to be normal. You know what I mean? It's going to be normal to call, your girlfriend the B word and whatever the case may be. Like on social media now, you'll see women calling their boyfriends the N word. Like, I wish a woman would touch my N word. I'm a ride or die. And same thing for men. If I catch a man touching my B, so and so. Back then, in the 70s and the 80s, I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And I'm a 90s baby, but I love watching old school movies. I have a lot of old friends, man, who they're confused. Like, man, I don't understand. Like, what's going on? Why are these young men calling these women bees? Why are the women calling the young men the N word? So, I think that consistency when it comes to music has taken its toll. So many people call the women the B word, and so many women call men the N word, that it's just become normalized, and they just treat one another the way music is distributed to us. And that's just my opinion. I don't blame it all on music, but I believe that, like I said before, that it's a huge factor.
Well, I think there's a real lack of role models now, and I think sometimes not just black men, but white men and other nationalities. I think we all need to step up and show some strong examples of what love really is. And in the new digital age, we see a lot of things that is drawn with the telephone, with the YouTube, with the Instagram, and things like that. So how does that play a part with the new millennium baby?
Well, in my opinion only, I feel like back then, the generation before us, back in the 80s and 70s, they didn't have all of this going on. They didn't have social media. They didn't have any type of way to communicate with another person that easily. You can be sitting at home and you can have a conversation with 100 different women online from your phone, and you're talking to your wife, right in front of you. So this generation, social media has made it so much easier to take a monogamous relationship and make it, quote, a platonic friendship amongst, men and, women. But in reality, you have a virtual relationship, both sexual and emotional, with somebody over the internet, and I think that social media is a humongous factor as it pertains to loyalty in our generation. And I can't say that you're grown, you should be able to make your own decision. Yeah, that's 100% true. But it's just so much like our phones have become a limb. Like you have your arms, your fingers, your feet, your legs, your head, and you got your phone. It's now a limb. A lot of people can't live without it. So if they don't have it, they can't necessarily focus, and they think for you. You know what I mean? In a sense, what's the point of remembering your grandmother's phone number when you can just go to a button, click on it, and it dials it automatically? It's your brain now. So when you see your phone, you automatically, as a young person, they go to social media and they see a lot of different women, and you see a lot of different men, and they feel like if I'm not verbally touching this person, I'm not cheating. If I'm not verbally, if I'm not with this person physically, it's not cheating, but emotionally, I consider it to be cheating. So social media is massive, man. Social media is massive with this generation. I just don't exactly know how else to put it. And yeah, we do need a lot of role models. We do need more role models. Not necessarily role models, I don't really like to use that term, but mentors. We need people to show our generation how to do it. But because those people are slowly dying off, and we have television and we have music that's taken over, there's nobody to really show them how it's supposed to be. So I think it's only going to get worse in the near future, and then with the next generation.
During my generation, during the baby boomers, there was some wholesome shows that were on. There was shows like Gilligan's Island or Beverly Hillbillies or Gomer Pyle or The Brady Bunch.
I still watch those shows.
And the new millennium shows are totally different. There are a lot of dramas. There are a lot of shows that show a lot of hatred, a lot of sneakiness, a lot of distrust.
Yeah.
With this being planted in the minds of young people, do they feel that this is the way it should be? Because marriages are starting to fade now. 1 out of 2 marriages make it. Mm-hmm. A lot of couples decide, we are not getting along, so hey, let's just end it. Mm-hmm. There's really not that compromise, or let's work this out and let's try to make some things work for us. But you got all these outside influences.
Yeah.
And some people cut off the internet, and they do the thinking, like you stated, on their own. So how can some of this change in the minds of young people that's coming up? I'm talking about the 15 to 16-year-olds that are coming up now.
Okay. Well, first off, I feel like 15 to 16 is too young to be trying to be in love, but we all go through it.
We all go through it.
We all have that puppy love. But this goes back to what I said earlier about love. I can't necessarily speak on marriage because I'm not married at the moment, but I can speak on relationship because I've been in a few. But when it comes to love, nobody wants to put the work in. A lot of people look at the finished product. They'll look at like the married couple from Tyler Perry's show. I think David and Tamela Mann. They look at that finished product and they say, oh man, that's a nice marriage. That's how I want things to be. But they don't look at, the checkpoints along the way before they got to the finish line. And it's not even necessarily the finish line because I'm pretty sure that they still have disagreements and everything because marriages work. So nobody looks at the checkpoints in between start to the finish line. They just look at the finish line and like, oh, that person is fast and whatnot, but they don't look at the training that they went through. They don't look at the injuries that they've overcame. They don't look at any of that stuff. So this generation wants a microwave relationship, but nobody wants to deal with the oven side of things because nobody wants to prepare for an actual 4-course meal. They want a TV dinner, marriage, but nobody wants that home cooked meal marriage. So, like I said, to answer your question, nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to put in the work. First argument they get into, they want to run away. Because when you get into a relationship, everybody's so used to being on their own. Everybody's so used to, wanting things their own way that when they get into a relationship, compromise is foreign. So the minute they have a disagreement, they're ready to run away because they're like, oh man, this is getting ready to be like this for the rest of my life. And guess what? It is. But that's where compromise comes from. You got to be willing to give up a little bit of you so that y'all can actually work. So that's just my opinion.
I totally agree with that. And it boils down to something called instant gratification, sort of like the Instagram or somebody doing the tweets.
Yeah.
How can this change, in your opinion, about how people can see doing the old way of courting, not just the text messages, but actually putting forth that long effort or making sure that you are putting in that time to cultivate that relationship?
Well, I think in the first place, when it comes to being successful in a relationship, I don't think technology should even be in the play. I think you got to put the phones down and communicate on a personal and intimate level. And I'm guilty of having trouble at times communicating because me, growing up, I'm like, when I didn't see things the way that I wanted them to be saw, or even just to put it bluntly, when I didn't get things my way, I will always say, you know what, that's it. I'm up out of here, or I'm done. And that doesn't necessarily pertain to relationships, but just in anything, period. Because I'm used to being a lot of artists in a way are controlling. And I'm not saying that I'm controlling in a relationship. I'm just saying that when things didn't go my way, like for instance, if I wanted to go to the store with my girlfriend, like I want to go to this store first and then we can go to this store. And she's like, well, I want to go to this store first and then we can go to this store. So it's kind of like, okay, both of us have, stubborn personalities and neither one of us want to compromise. So who's going to be the bigger person to do it? So I would do what she wanted to do, but then once I did it, I would have an attitude the entire way. So it's kind of like the Bible, how it says that you're supposed to give cheerfully. I wasn't giving cheerfully. I was giving with a begrudged heart. It was like, all right, we're going to do what you do, but don't talk to me. Leave me alone. I'm compromising and I'm pissed off right now. You know what I mean? But I believe, and I would get in my phone and I would write or something like that. But instead of putting my phone down and saying, and just talking to her, just trying to communicate, it made matters worse. And I can say that I'm starting to get a heck of a lot better at that. But I believe that any artist out here has a stubborn personality or a sense of controlling, because you want things to be the way that you see it happening. And I believe that that's what's going on in this generation. It's not necessarily that everyone's an artist, but a lot of people feel entitled. I'm entitled to do exactly what I want to do. And with that being said, what you say don't matter, and I don't feel the need to compromise. So I believe that that's what needs to happen. I think we need to put our phones down. I think we need to omit and silence all technology, and I believe we just need to get back to the basics and just communicate and compromise.
Let's go back to the beginning of this interview when we started talking about television and cable. And when you see the reality shows on television, you see the Empire, you see the Power Show with 50 Cent, and you see the attitudes that people try to portray. And some people actually say, hey, this is the way of life, watching reality TV. So how can you separate when these young people are growing up with this and then they come into the real world and they're like, hey, wait a minute, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
The
crazy thing is, I was talking about this earlier. There's a difference between talking about what's going on in your life or in your environment and promoting what's going on in your life and in your environment. So I could simply say, people around here are on drugs and people are dying every day. People have diseases around here, the whole nine. And I'm just talking about what's going on. But if I say I'm selling drugs to you, I'm killing you, I'll pull out a gun and I'll kill you, and now I'll sell these drugs to you, or whatever the case may be, now you're promoting violence. So I have no problems with people who are talking about the story and what's going on. But when you are promoting it, that's when I have a problem. So when you look at a lot of television shows and whatnot, a lot of them are actually promoting negativity. They're promoting violence. They're promoting what's going on. They're not necessarily saying that this is what's going on in my area or whatnot. They're actually promoting it. They're starting trouble. They're purposely trying to fight people. They're purposely trying to kill people. They're purposely selling drugs. They're purposely promoting it. You know what I mean? And like I said, you can illustrate a story on how to do it, but as I said before, there's a difference between promoting and actually telling a story. So a lot of these people in this generation are looking at this and saying, "Yo, this is," and they make these characters so good. You know what I mean? That these people want to actually be like these characters. Instead of saying this is what you don't want to be like, they glorify this character, and then they make a lot of these millennials want to be like these characters. So as I was saying earlier today, certain things play on emotions. So when you watch these shows, you have to listen to the music in the background, and the music in the background will make you want to be like these people because they play on your emotions. That's why in sad scenes you have sad music, and in murderous scenes you have like murderous type of music. If you stripped away all the music and you just watch people do the scene, you could be like, okay, I see what's going on. But when they add the music to it, you're like, hey, I want to be up in there with them. I want to kill people with them. You don't really care about what's going on. You don't care why they're killing people. You just feel like you want to be a part of the scene. Your heart gets to racing and everything. So, a lot of this stuff that's going on is promoting violence and it's promoting negativity, and it's just making our young people want to do it. But like I said, it's to each his own. But I'll always say it's a difference between promoting it and telling the story about what's going on in your community.
And I think you're absolutely right, especially when you said about the music. Sometimes that sinister music is something that gets into the spirit of people.
Yeah, I agree.
But Dakei, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I would like for you to tell the listening audience and leave something with them about how can you embrace love and how can you hold love close to your heart.
Well, first and foremost, the root of all love is God. And That's not necessarily my opinion. This is what I've experienced. So for me, it's a fact. You have to have God first. And like I said, it's like a triangle. God is at the top of the triangle. Man and woman is on either side. And the closer you both get to God, the closer you get to one another. And that's just an actual fact, So I would easily say that, despite the arguments and, trying to compromise and all of that stuff comes with it. But the root of it all is to have a foundation of God, Christ in your life and, build from there. That's the foundation.
I like that. And thank you very much, Dakei Harvey, for being on Listening to Love. I really appreciate you.
I want you
to continue to do the hard work that you're doing.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to hear a song from Dakei's catalog of music. So sit back and enjoy. And what's the name of the song we're going to hear, Dakei?
It's called Taboo Tattoo.
Okay, very good. So sit back, relax, and listen to Dakei's.
Connection to your phone's no longer in. I tried to call you multiple times. I know that I should be an optimist, but it feels like a view from hell would be better than this. You're telling the lies I'm steady believing. I keep it 100, but you're keeping secrets. Or maybe I'm tripping and just overthinking. In case I'm not, I shouldn't have got you tattooed on me.
Taboo tattoo. Taboo tattoo.
Shouldn't have got you tattooed on me.
Taboo tattoo. Taboo.
I shouldn't have got you tatted on me. Tatted on me. I shouldn't have got you tatted on me. Tatted on me. I shouldn't have got you tatted on me. Tatted on me. This taboo tattoo. Whoa, 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 whoa. Down and out at the lonely cafe. Table for one and send me the waitress. Espresso shots and keep the glasses coming. My energy's fading, energy's fading. Spent holidays with your moms and them. I met your whole entire fam, and now I gotta start over again. I don't wanna do it, but I gotta do it. Shouldn't have got you tattooed on me.
Taboo tattoo. Taboo.
Shouldn't have got you tattooed on me.
Taboo tattoo.
Shouldn't have got you tattooed on me.
Taboo tattoo.
I shouldn't have got you tatted on me. Tatted on me. I shouldn't have got you tatted on me. Tatted on me. I shouldn't have got you tatted on me. Tatted on me. This taboo tattoo. Whoa, 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 whoa.
And I shouldn't have got this tattoo.
You're listening to Love on the Art of Romance channel.
Whether you're looking to spice things up or indulge in a bit of self-care, let Art of Romance fulfill all your romantic needs, from sensual adult games to massage oils, candles, chocolate treats, and much, much more. Do you desire a little romance in your life? Visit us at artofromancellc.com. artofromancellc.com.